Welcome to the 23rd episode of Ahargana. I am back after a long gap of almost 2 months or a little bit more. So whenever I give such a long gap, you can think that I am practically starting a new season. So I would think that this is the third season of Ahargana. And it took me such a long time to start this third series because in fact I started it 2 months back. I showed you a GeoGebra based animation of the sun and the moon and the planets, and I explained to you the basis of the model of the Surya Siddhanta. Because now I am talking about not months and years, but I am talking about a day, a 24-hour period. And I thought I could finish it off in a couple of episodes. But when I started creating those episodes, I realized I had not fully understood the topic and that there were still subtle points there which I had missed. So as I started digging in, as I started improving my material, my understanding became more clear, and I realized that this is not something which I can finish off in a couple of episodes, that this is going to require another maybe 6-7 episodes. So that's why I took my time putting together the material for the episodes, and I think now my understanding of this topic of a day, an Ahoratra, is fairly clear. And that's why I am calling this the third season. In this season, we are going to be talking about small period of time, 24 hours and subdivisions of that. In English, 24 hours is called a day, but then between sunrise and sunset is also called a day. Whereas in Sanskrit, 24 hours is called an Ahoratra. So the discussions in this third season of Ahargana are going to be about Ahoratra. But before I get into the astronomy, as always, I tell you where I am at this point in time. I am in the Nilgiris again. I did one episode in the Nilgiris in a tea garden. Now I am back in the Nilgiris. I am close to a town called Kotagiri. This is all near Ooty. Everybody knows about Ooty. Everybody goes to Ooty. Ooty is very crowded. There is a lake there and everybody is there. But I am not there where the lake is. I am here overlooking a valley near Kotagiri. It's beautiful. It's December. I thought it'll be getting cold. It does get cold once the sun goes down. I told you about this when I was in Ladakh. When the sun goes down, it does get bitterly cold, but not in Ladakh. It goes to around 13 degrees centigrade. But now it's perfect t-shirt weather. It's nice, beautiful, and as you can see behind me, it's not tea gardens, it's a valley. And people live there, people work here, and yes, a lot of agriculture happens here. In fact, I saw a Reliance Fresh collection center down below. They are collecting produce from the Nilgiris, which they can then take down and sell to everybody else. A gentle breeze blowing, birds chirping, beautiful scenery behind me. I'm not able to see it because in front of me it's mountains going further up. In theory, I can trek further up and get a 360-degree view, but I thought this is a nice enough view for me to make an episode of Ahargana. So now let me get on to the astronomy part, and you know I always say that we are not here to talk about nature, we are here to talk about nature on a much grander scale, the scale of the movement of the sun and the moon. But in this episode, we are interested in the movement of the sun and the stars. Now, the topic of this episode is a day, a solar day. A Savana Ahoratra is the term which most people know, and a Savana Ahoratra, and I have been telling you all through this series, in the Hindu calendar, a day begins with sunrise. Simple statement, but extremely complicated, as you will see as we move forward in this series. But the new information I want to give you is that Savana Ahoratra is only one of 2 Ahoratras that are defined in Surya Siddhanta. So what is the second Ahoratra? And that is called a Nakshatra Ahoratra. That means it is a day which is defined by the movement of the stars. Why is there such a day? That is the topic of this episode. This Nakshatra Ahoratra is similar to Savana Ahoratra. Savana Ahoratra begins with sunrise, sun goes up, sun sets, night happens and then sun comes back and rises again. That ends the Savana Ahoratra. A Nakshatra Ahoratra is similar. A star rises, it could be any star, Chitra, Jyeshta, Revati, Ashwini, doesn't matter. A star rises, goes up, that star sets, and then it goes round and again comes back and rises the next time. And that ends in Nakshatra Ahoratra. Sounds very similar to the rising of a sun, and the next sunrise is a day. Rising of a star, the next star rise is a day. Is an Ahoratra. I will try not to use the term day, but use the term Ahoratra. So what is the difference between a Savana Ahoratra based on the sun and the Nakshatra Ahoratra based on a nakshatra? There are two major differences. The first difference is that the Nakshatra Ahoratra is 4 minutes shorter than the Savana Ahoratra. And that 4 minutes is extremely important, as I will show you when I show you the animation of this episode. The second difference is that a Nakshatra Ahoratra is a fixed period. It's the same period today, tomorrow, 3 months later, 6 months later. Now it is winter, it's the same period. Then you go to summer, it's the same period. It's 4 minutes short of 24 hours. Always, doesn't matter whether it is winter or summer, 4 minutes short of 24 hours. Approximately, there is a fraction there. We will talk about that a little bit later. Whereas a Savana Ahoratra is a variable period. You think it is 24 hours. That's because this clock tells us it's 24 hours, but this clock is not synchronized to sunrise. This clock tells you that sun rises at different times in summer and in winter. Now that we are in winter, sunrise is rather late, maybe around 6:30 in the morning, whereas if I go to summer in May, sunrise is around 5:30 at about the same altitude as Bangalore. So something is different there, and that difference is day after day after day. A Savana Ahoratra based on the sun is not exactly 24 hours. It varies a little bit. Not much, it varies less than a minute, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, but the variation is cumulative in nature. Sometimes it falls the other way. It is less than 24 hours by 30 seconds, 40 seconds, etc. So there are variations there, and this 24 hours is known as mean solar day. That means it is an average solar day across an entire year. Not so with Nakshatra Ahoratra. Nakshatra Ahoratra is a fixed period. Now think about it, this should be obvious to you, because we know today in our modern technology that the earth is rotating, but it is rotating at a steady speed. Stars are not moving, and hence as the earth rotates at a steady speed, day after day after day, these stars will rise and set with the same duration between two star rises. The sun, on the other hand, is different. Earth is rotating, sun is not fixed, sun is also moving. That brings about the complexities, and the sun is moving at a variable rate. Anyway, let us not worry about the sun at this point in time. First, I will go into details of Nakshatra Ahoratra. I will explain to you what that is so you understand it, and in subsequent episodes I will talk about subdivisions of a day, which are called Nadi, Vinadi and Prana, which are divisions of the duration of Nakshatra Ahoratra, because that is the fixed quantity day after day after day across the entire year. So in this particular episode, I will just show you these two Ahoratras side by side using a GeoGebra model. I will show you how one is slightly shorter than the other, and I will show you what impact that has. It has a significant fundamental impact on the very fact that the Saptagraha are traversing the Rashi Mandala because of this 4-minute difference. You will understand that only when you see the animation. So I am going to roll the animation now. Take a look. Okay, let's get started. In this episode, we will take a look at the definitions of two types of Ahoratras. One is called the Savana Ahoratra and the second one is called the Nakshatra Ahoratra. I will continue to use the GeoGebra model which I had introduced you to in the last episode. To summarize the model very quickly, this is the horizon, this is east and the west, and all the planets as well as the nakshatras, they rise in the east, set in the west, come back and again rise in the east every day. This is what the Surya Siddhanta says, because according to the Surya Siddhanta, the earth is not spinning on its axis. Earth is stationary. And hence everything has to rotate around the earth every day. Now in the last episode I had shown you all the planets, but this time I am showing you only the sun. This is of course the earth in the center, and this is Meshadi, but this time I am saying this is Revati Nakshatra because I am making an approximation here. Revati Nakshatra is not at Reshadi, not at Meshadi, it's a little bit on this side, but I am approximating it and saying Revati is here. Because Nakshatra Ahoratra is all about Nakshatra, so I need a Nakshatra here. And this of course is the Rashi Mandala. If this is Meshadi, then this is Mesha Rashi, this is Vrishabha Rashi, and so on and so on. And everything dotted is below the horizon, which an observer normally cannot see, but I can show it to you in a geometric model. So this is a hypothetical date and time on which both the sun and Revati are ready to rise. They are on the eastern horizon. And it is a hypothetical observation location. This is not a real simulation. This is a mathematical model. Now the idea of an Ahoratra is basically a duration from one rising to the next rising. So from the time the sun rises and then comes back and rises again, that would be a Savana Ahoratra. And we know that is 24 hours. That's not strictly true, but I will talk more about that in the coming episodes. But the second Ahoratra, Nakshatra Ahoratra, is all about the rising and subsequent rising of a nakshatra. In this example, I am going to use Revati. So Revati rises, goes around, comes back, rises again. That is a Nakshatra Ahoratra. So why do you need that at all? What is the purpose? You will see when I run these animations. So I am going to start animating a Nakshatra Ahoratra. We are right now at day 0. And it is 6 a.m. in the morning. This is my initial starting point. So I'm going to start the animation now, see what happens. So everything has risen, moving around, setting, coming back to rise again the next time. So Revati completed one revolution. How long did it take? Is it 6 a.m. the next day? No, it is only 5:56 a.m. the next day. So it took 4 minutes less than 24 hours. That is the duration of a Nakshatra Ahoratra. It's not 24 hours. It's 4 minutes less than 24 hours. And observe carefully, you will see the sun has not exactly come back to the horizon yet. That means the Savana Ahoratra is not yet complete. So let me complete the Savana Ahoratra. There you go. Now the sun has come exactly on the horizon and that duration is 24 hours, 6 a.m. I am showing. Next day, 6 a.m., 6:0. Now once again, I repeat, this is not strictly true. A Savana Ahoratra is a variable duration. Day by day, it increases or decreases a little bit this way, that way of 24 hours. But that's a topic for future episodes. I will not go into details of that. Right now, I am assuming the Savana Ahoratra is fixed at 24 hours. Let's focus on the Nakshatra Ahoratra. Let's proceed to the next Nakshatra Ahoratra. So this is solar day 1 in progress. And Revati is coming back to the horizon, rising the next time. What is the duration now? It is 5 hours 52 minutes a.m. 5:52 a.m.
This is 8 minutes short of 6 a.m. So does that mean that the duration of the Nakshatra Ahoratra changed? No, 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 no. The duration of the Nakshatra Ahoratra is 4 minutes short of 24 hours. That is fixed. But that 4 minutes difference is cumulative in nature. So what was 4 minutes gap between the rising of Revati and the rising of the sun has now become an 8-minute gap. And it will become 12 minutes and 16 minutes and 20 minutes, as you will see when I move with this animation. Now it's a little bit more clear. You can see here the gap. Sun has not come back to the horizon. So let me complete the Savana Ahoratra. And now the sun has come back to the horizon. It is 6 a.m. again on day 2. So day 0 is complete, day 1 is complete, day 2, 6 a.m. That means day 2 is about to start. So let me proceed with the Nakshatra Ahoratra of day 2. And you can already start seeing the sun is kind of falling back behind Revati. Now Revati has come back, and what was an 8-minute difference has now become a 12-minute difference, because that 4 minutes short of 24 hours, that 4 minutes gap between the two Ahoratras is cumulative in nature. It keeps adding up. So now you can see clearly the sun is so far behind Revati. Revati is rising, but the sun is 12 minutes behind. So let me finish this Savana Ahoratra there. Now the sun has come to the horizon. It is 6 a.m. on day 3. Let's proceed into one more Nakshatra Ahoratra. I know I'm repeating the same thing again and again, but there is a reason why I am doing this, because I want to show you this ever widening gap. Now Revati has come back to the eastern horizon, and now there is a 16-minute difference between the rising of Revati and the rising of the sun. But instead of talking about it as just a gap or a difference between rising of Revati and rising of the sun, I will now say what is happening here is there is an apparent movement of the sun through Mesha Rashi. The sun is traversing Mesha Rashi in this direction. While in reality the sun is rotating in this direction, east to west, there is a accompanying apparent movement west to east across the Rashi Mandala. And this difference, this apparent movement across the Rashi Mandala is happening because of that 4-minute difference. That's how important that 4-minute difference is to this model. So let's continue with close this Savana Ahoratra. It's 6 a.m. now on day 4. I will move forward into one more Nakshatra Ahoratra. Now very clearly you can see the sun is traversing Mesha Rashi. There you go, sun has come so far into Mesha Rashi, and day after day after day the sun will keep moving. After 30 days, approximately somewhere there, it will come here, Sankranti will happen, and the sun will move into Vrishabha, and so on and so on. And now there is a full 20-minute difference between the rising of Revati and rising of the sun. So to summarize, the duration of a Nakshatra Ahoratra is 4 minutes short of 24 hours. That means 23 hours, 56 minutes. Again, there are some fractions involved if I go into the exact one, but we can work with 4 minutes short of 24 hours. But because it is 4 minutes short of 24 hours, it results in this apparent movement of the sun across the Rashi Mandala in a west to east direction. This is the importance of having Nakshatra Ahoratra. Now, I should also point out here that, Nakshatra Ahoratra does not cause day and night. Clearly, you need the sun. It's only the Savana Ahoratra which causes day and night, not the Nakshatra Ahoratra. Nakshatra Ahoratra is really a duration. Nobody says, no community in India will say that we are starting Our day is Nakshatra Ahoratra, and when Revati rises, our day begins. Nobody does that. It's always when the sun rises, day begins, Savana Ahoratra. But the Nakshatra Ahoratra concept is important because it's fundamental to the movement of the sun and all the planets across the Rashi Mandala. And also I will show you in the future episodes that it is this duration, this Nakshatra Ahoratra, which is further subdivided into Nadi, Vinadi and Prana in the Surya Siddhanta, which is like the hours, minutes and seconds in the modern timekeeping. But that is for a future episode. Also, you can clearly see that an Ahoratra is a full 24-hour period. There is no concept of AM, PM. It just keeps going on and on and on. The AM, PM I am showing you here is the modern clock I am showing you because we are all familiar with the modern clock. So I have to explain everything with respect to the modern clock. So with that, I will close this episode on Nakshatra Ahoratra. Thank you very much for watching.
Good. Now you know all about the difference between Nakshatra Ahoratra and Savana Ahoratra. In fact, until this video you did not even know there were two Ahoratras. Now you know there are two. You know the difference between them. And you know why it is important, that difference between them, because if that difference was not there, the entire Surya Siddhanta model will collapse. And the Saptagraha will stop revolving around the Rashi Mandala. So that is how important it is to understand the Nakshatra Ahoratra. So in this episode I showed you Nakshatra Ahoratra using GeoGebra, which is a simulated geometric model. In the next episode we will go back to our familiar Stellarium. That's right. So Stellarium is also a simulated model, but it is an observed model. It actually accurately simulates what you will observe with your naked eye if you had that capability to do that. So in Stellarium I will show you a nakshatra rising in the east, traversing the sky, and then again rising, coming back to rise in the east the next day. That's the Nakshatra Ahoratra. I will not show you Revati, but I will show you Chitra Nakshatra, which is a very bright star. I will show you Chitra rising in the east, going one full rotation, coming back, rising again in the east, and you will see that the duration for that is 23 hours and 56 minutes, not 24 hours. Now in subsequent episodes beyond that, we will go into subdivisions of a Nakshatra Ahoratra into Nadi, Vinadi and Prana. That's also a very interesting topic, particularly Prana has got some fantastic subtleties behind it, but that's for the future episodes. So until I see you again in the next episode, as always, I thank you very much for having watched this episode and for having stayed with Stellarium for almost 2 years now. And please tell your friends, tell your circles, tell your friends, tell your enemies, whoever it may be, that there is such a channel called Ahargana, which explains the astronomy of the Hindu calendar in a way which it has never been explained before, because nobody uses Stellarium to explain this astronomy. So with that, I close this episode, and until I see you again in the next episode, thank you very much for watching. Take care and bye-bye.